welcome Mary Wu, who will be our speaker and trainer today for this session. If you have questions, please put them either in the chat or the Q&A function, and I'll monitor that during the course of the presentation.
Are you ready for me?
Let's rock and roll.
Okay, hi, I am Mary Wu, and I have been working with people on LinkedIn for about 8 years. I'm very familiar with the platform, very in love with the platform, and I know what people are doing right, and I know what people are doing wrong, and I know what most of the complaints are. So today we're here to talk about one of the biggest issues people seem to have with LinkedIn is they think that it takes a lot of time, and it doesn't need to. In the chat, I have put a link to a Google Drive doc that is roughly an outline of this presentation. Today, we're going to go over a few things. I'm going to tell you why you want to be on LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you why you might want to listen to me. We're going to talk about prioritizing your activities. We're going to give a rough activity outline, and by the end of this, I will give you some homework to do, and I will tell you how to find me. There's a few notes before we start. There's a chat feature. Robert will be monitoring that. I'll glance at it at times. If you come up with questions, you could put them in there. I might not answer them right when they go in, because I might have something that will cover that later, but I know what's on my list and you don't. But I do like to answer all of the questions that you have, and I will always save time at the end for Q&A. So first thing we want to know is, why do we want to be on LinkedIn? I know that many people have the impression that LinkedIn is exactly what it was back in 2012, 2011. It was a guy, always in a blue suit with a red tie and a plain background, looking for people to hire or looking to be hired. I do not know why it was predominantly men until about 2022. It got really close to even, and it was predominantly job seekers and hirers. Then about the middle 20-teens, we started to be more of a business to business network. And then we all got locked up in our houses for years, and we wanted to relate to people, and we started LinkedIn started to take on more of a networking and community building platform, and we really wanted to connect with other humans on the platform. So fabulous change. Some of the original people that were in the blue suits and the red ties aren't real happy about that, but it's changed. And like somebody said once, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You're not going to get it back in. So I got a billion reasons you should be on LinkedIn. In February, I think, of this year, it crossed over into the billionth user. When people are on LinkedIn, there is a different mindset than when they're on other platforms. When they're on LinkedIn, they're thinking about business. They're looking for very specific people to connect to. They're looking for people to engage with. They're there with business in mind. When people are on Twitter, they might be looking to see what the latest news is. When people are on Facebook, they might be looking for pictures of their grandchildren. When I'm on Instagram, I'm looking for videos of golden retrievers. That's where my mind is, and we'll often go back there. People on LinkedIn are thinking about business. They are not thinking about what's happening in November in this country. So that's a nice reprieve from all of the hubbub. In the US, most of the people on LinkedIn are in a family unit that have an income of over 100,000 a year, which means for the small business operators, they might have a little bit of extra income and might be good people for your clients. Most of the members on LinkedIn have college degrees, and a lot of buyers say that they use LinkedIn to research what they're getting. I know if I've got anybody coming into my house to do any work, I'm going to check them out in different places and might decide that I want to know who you know that I know. And in a little while, I'll go and show you something really interesting. So yes, it is past the days of thinking of LinkedIn as the business only, hiring people only platform. Now, why you want to listen to me, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to invite you to go to my LinkedIn profile and to go down and look at the recommendations. There are a number of people that have given me recommendations on my services, and LinkedIn is a great place to ask for and receive recommendations. Also, there is a group of LinkedIn people that do the same thing that I do. None of us are affiliated with LinkedIn. LinkedIn doesn't have any training to have somebody out and go show other people how to use it. So we kind of banded together as a little bit of, we hang, we learn from each other, we teach each other. One of the people in LinkedIn that has created the first UK only, LinkedIn only conference has a list of people to follow on LinkedIn, and he considers me one of those experts. So I am admired by my clients, which we love, but I'm also admired by my peers. And that means a lot to me. So we're going to get to, saving your time on LinkedIn, but we're going to talk about a couple of things first. Any platform, LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, anytime you're logging into a platform and it is asking you if you want to use two-factor authentication, the answer is yes. It's sometimes a little bit of a pain in the ass. I'm sorry, am I allowed to say ass in a squirrel thing?
Yes, you are.
Good, because I just did. Sometimes a major pain. I know my bank has just changed the way they're doing authentication, and it's like, do I have to go through this every time? And I've seen what happens when accounts get taken over, and it is absolutely worth it to have that authentication in there. So make sure you go through all those hoops, even if you hate them. A couple of things that it's very useful to know, no matter where you are and what you're doing in business, is understanding your unique value proposition, understanding who your client is. Your SCORE mentor can tell you how to figure that out. That is stuff that is handled in SCORE all the time. And in an hour here, we don't have time to go through that. But make sure you understand who you are, what your offerings are, why you know what you're doing, and who you're talking to. This will help you not only in the language that you're using on LinkedIn, not only in what you're doing in posts, in what you're doing in your about section, and what you're doing in your experience section, but also it will help you anywhere in marketing, on your website, in your emails, on other platforms. So talk to your SCORE people and go to sessions like this and learn a lot of things. We're going to do some screen shares here, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that I'm a little bit nuts about LinkedIn, but these are a couple of things I very particularly love. I'm going to, let's see. Give me a second. I've got to expand screens and get all the things up. Okay, we're seeing LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
If I go up to the search bar and just press a space, and click people, there is 1 billion, lots of people on here. If I take this now and say I want to look at my first connections, that lowers down the number a bit. And if I move the location and just say Nashville metropolitan area, that lowers my reach a little bit. But the magic of LinkedIn doesn't come in with who and where my connections are. It comes in with who their connections are. So I've got 246 here right now. Now, if I want to look at who I'm connected to and who they're connected to, just in the Nashville metro area, that changes that to 14,000. LinkedIn isn't about me talking to my connections. It is about me talking to my connections and hoping and training and wanting them to share with their connections. If you make a comment on something that I post on, all of your connections that are on LinkedIn see it, and then I'm seen by them. If I make a comment on something that you post on LinkedIn, then all of my connections see it. It's one of the magic things about LinkedIn is that exponential reach that you have when you use it. And the fact that you can play with some of these buttons and see a lot of what that is. So think about that when you're posting. You want to talk to a lot of people. I just love looking at those numbers. The next thing that is very cool on LinkedIn that they have literally just started, over on the left panel, there is a little place where you've got some analytics for yourself. To the left panel and hit post impressions, you can see some analytics, but the thing I am really loving that they have recently done is a weekly sharing tracker, and it kind of grades you on what activity you've taken. And this is when I'm talking about working on LinkedIn in not too much time, increase your visibility by posting, commenting, or contributing to collaborative articles. We suggest taking 3 actions every week. They're not suggesting posting 10 things a day and commenting on hundreds of posts a day and doing videos 10 times a day. They're talking about taking a few actions every week. And if you're doing that right, you will be reaching out to the right people. I believe that this resets on Monday, but like I said, this is a brand new feature that they've got in the analytics, and we just started playing with it. But yesterday when I looked at it, it was 0 of 3 actions, and that was Monday. So I think it resets once a week. I encourage you to pop and look at that every now and then. If you get to a Friday and you're 0 of 3 actions, it might be time to start thinking about, hey, getting some things done. One of the things that I usually talk to my clients is about is creating appointments with themselves. I know for myself personally, when I've got something in my calendar, like, Mary, check your connections on LinkedIn. I'll go do it at 10 on a Tuesday, but I won't do it sometime later in the week. Was there a comment or a question, Robert? I thought I heard some background noise.
There's, well, there are a couple of things, but I was going to wait a little bit later to read them out, and then you could address them.
Okay, I'm going to actually answer Gloria's question because that's a very frequent question that I get. The value to pay premium. One of the things I like to tell people is when somebody asks me if they should be paying for premium, there are features that you get with premium, but most of the people that I personally see are not using all of the free options that LinkedIn has to offer. And until you're actually in there and actively using all of the free things, and then you find you're not getting what you want, that's when you can think about premium. I have not looked at the price in the past few months. The last I looked, it was running at about $50 a month for the lowest level of premium. If you look at my account, you will see that I have a premium account. So am I contradicting myself? I signed up for a premium account in 2014 and I am legacied in at $95 a year. As long as they're giving all that to me for $95 a year, I'm in. I would not be paying the $50 a month for that. I would absolutely not. Okay, so what do we like on LinkedIn? I'll dip back in. I'm going to go off share. I'll dip back in later if we need to share something. When I talk about acing LinkedIn, I'm talking about 3 things: activity, consistency, and engagement. So when you're active, you create appointments with yourself to check your messages, to post things, to check connection requests, to engage with people. I like to put appointments to myself in the calendar and get out there and talk to people and then if you're looking to save time, set a timer. Say, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes Monday morning and 10 minutes Monday evening. And if you're posting, have a plan like on Mondays, I post motivational posts. On Thursdays, I talk about business tips. On Tuesdays, you could talk about tacos, but you might do a live video. There are many different things you can do, but if you know what you're going to do coming in, it makes it a lot easier. One of the things I've seen very consistent on a lot of people is when they have a friend of mine who's a copywriter has a marketing Monday. Somebody else has a gratitude Friday, and he talks about what he's grateful for from the week. A couple of people I know have wins from last month that they post the first of every month. So when you have something you know you're going to do, it makes it a lot easier. One of the things I work with people individually is like, what do you want your days to look like? What do you want to post? Think about what you might have coming up. If you've got anybody in here for a nonprofit, we all know that nonprofits have Giving Tuesday coming up in November. Now is the time that you start letting people know what your nonprofit's doing, what's going on, what services you offer, why you are such a fabulous nonprofit, so that in November, when you hit people up for money, they'll know who you are, and they won't be saying, who, wait, what? You want them to know who we are. Another part of the ACE is consistency. So your followers know what you're doing when you're doing it. Every Saturday I post a wrap up of some of the posts I found that I like the best, and people like this. Every Monday I post what you should be posting this week on LinkedIn. People like that and start to look for it. And when you've got consistent things, people will start to look for that. But it's not tomorrow. It takes weeks or months for people to start depending on you to do certain things. But you have to be consistent. Anybody a baseball fan ever realize how long the baseball season takes? And it's not one game, it's the whole season. Everything builds on everything else. So making sure that you're there. And then the other thing is engagement. And again, set your time. When are you going to engage? Engaging is not only posting consistently, but also engaging with others' posts. One of the highly undervalued activities on LinkedIn, and one of the things I love to see people do, and it was back in that thing I showed you where it said post, comment, and contribute to articles. Comments are highly valuable. When you're commenting, your name, your profile photo, and your headline show up in every comment you do, so people know a little bit about you. And then you're adding to a conversation. And you're adding to a conversation if other people are commenting that other people are commenting on. And I have seen in the comment section, people find guests for their podcasts. I know two people that met in a comment section, and they've now co-authored a couple of books, and they have a podcast that they both run, and they met in a comment section. So engaging with other people there is one of the most valuable things you can do. I have some clients that I've worked with, and they're really not ready to post. There's that shyness, that not quite ready to take that jump. And I'm like, go and get in the comments, do it a few times a week. One of the things you need to step back and do is look at who your connections are. So of your connections, who's somebody that's a really good partner for you? For me, a really good partner might be a copywriter, it might be a headshot photographer. So following them and engaging on their posts, not because they're going to be my client, but because the same people that are their clients could also be my clients. So they're really great people to get connected to. I don't know if anybody here has been around LinkedIn for more than 8 years. Back in the 2010s, there used to be these things called Lions, LinkedIn Open Networkers. and everybody would connect with everybody. And everybody would connect with everybody. And all of a sudden, it's a lot of noise. So I am not as interested in having the biggest network as opposed to having the right size for you network. When you're reaching out to people, think about, is this a person that you want to be connected with? Are they active on LinkedIn? They're not active on LinkedIn. They're not adding to your engagement. They're not showing other people what you're posting. If they aren't good partners with you, they might not be a great person to connect with. Earlier this year, LinkedIn started limiting for a free account the number of connection requests you could send with a message. So one of the things we encourage people to do is connect in the comments, follow people, comment on their stuff, and then reach out with that connection request when they know who you are, so that you're not coming in cold. And then another thing that we've seen a lot of, and I've heard this a lot, is that people get a lot of spam on LinkedIn. You will find that when you're first there, or when you first reboot and you're starting to get active, you'll get a lot of connection requests from people that you don't want to connect to, a lot of messages from people that you don't want to hear from. But the more that you're active, the more you're connecting with great people, the more you're sending messages back and forth that are of value, the more that really good noise will kind of drown out the spammy stuff. And nobody wants the spammy messages, but you're getting the good ones. It makes it worth muddling through spam. Sometimes you go through the mud to get to that great view. We just got back from Yellowstone and Glacier and Waterton. Sometimes you go through the muck to get to the really great views. If you're in an industry and there are people that, I call them like people you want to be when you grow up, somebody who's a leader in your industry, follow those people and absolutely engaged. Gloria, I'll get to that in a minute. Engage with those people, but also don't copy them, but emulate them or share information that they're giving. LinkedIn has and always will be a long game. Right now, I think of LinkedIn as the place where I'm not the place where I'm finding this week's clients, but the place where I'm finding the clients for 3 or 4 months from now or for the beginning of next year. Gloria, interesting groups. And LinkedIn is an interesting history. LinkedIn had groups and supported them back when LinkedIn on LinkedIn. And then Microsoft came in and started ignoring groups. And then Facebook started really focusing on community, and it took off over on Facebook. And then Microsoft now owned LinkedIn. They're like, oh, maybe we should try that and start supporting groups. And now they're not really paying attention to groups. So there's a lot of groups that were created at various and different points in that timeline. There are great groups. There are groups that are dead zones, and there are groups that are just places where people go and do sales pitches. So you've got to dig around to look for the groups you want to be in and do focus searches to find those groups, and then assess each one to see if it's a good group for you. Something I noticed, and I was not in the Greek system in college, but something I've noticed is a lot of the fraternities and sororities have groups on LinkedIn. And if you were in one, that is a great place to be involved and to connect with other people, because oftentimes those are the kind of people that might be in the job that you want or might be interested in the business that you're doing. And a lot of times in that area, people will build up like-minded people that were members. Most of those groups seem to have a very aware way they let members in. They're not going to let just anybody in. They're going to make sure it is somebody that was a part of that fraternity sorority. There are also groups for any kind of industry you can think of. Real estate agents, they're not public, they're private, but there's groups for LinkedIn consultants. There's groups for copywriters. There's all kinds of groups. Again, though, you gotta kind of settle it out so that you make sure that the groups you're in are good, strong groups. Okay, who wants to see a rough activity outline of quick steps you could do on a regular basis? Because that means another
Yep.
share screen. Yep, I'm
Couple of
seeing.
hands raised.
All right. So if you look at the Google Doc I've given you, I've suggested some activities daily. And I'll just kind of walk through daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. So this middle part here is your feed. Go through that, see who you know, what people are saying, make some comments on some things, engage with other people, check your inbox, which I won't do in front of people, which is up here, this little 3 dots of messaging. Check your notifications. This is what's telling you who you follow and if they've posted something. So Jeff Young, he's supposedly retired, but he helps people with LinkedIn a lot. I'm just going to use this for an example here. If there's somebody you really want to be paying attention to what they're posting, there's a bell here that you can ring. If you're whether or not you're a connection, you can ring a bell. You can also say that you want all of their notifications about all of their posts, notifications about their most relevant posts, or you can turn that off. I like Jeff, he has good stuff. I'm going to say all. But the great thing about that is if there's some industry leader, somebody, let's say you're a speaker and you want to make sure you get on the short list for that conference they've got coming up, whoever's running that conference, follow them and get on their radar. Commenting can get on their radar. So check your notifications. And I like to keep up with my connection requests. I get maybe 25 a week. And if I let it go too long, it's way too overwhelming. So making sure I check that every day. Things you can do on basically a weekly basis, posting articles, updates on what you're doing. You can post videos that are pre-recorded. You can do live videos if you're coming through a third-party software. Most of the people that are doing video on LinkedIn are using something called StreamYard. Visit your groups if you've got some. There is a who's viewed your profile. It's over here on this left side. Check who's viewed it, because sometimes you might want to reach back out to people who have viewed your profile and say, hey, did you need something from me? What was up? Sometimes somebody's maybe thinking about using your services, maybe thinking about connecting with you. So seeing who's viewed your profile is a great idea. And once in a while, reach out to your old connections. One thing they've changed recently, I'm not sure if everybody has this yet. In your My Network area, they've got a Grow, which is where your invitations will show up. And they've got something called Catch Up. Over here, you'll see job changes, birthdays, work anniversaries, and education. See who had a birthday recently, and if there's somebody you might want to double back around with, send them a note, but don't send them the auto note that says wishing you a happy birthday, because that's what everybody else is doing. Send something that sounds a little bit unique. If you actually use your phone for this, you can go on your phone and send a video message. That would be a little bit unique. That would make you stand out from the other 20 people that are sending that wish you a happy birthday, wish you a happy birthday. Try to make yourself stand out a little bit from the crowd, because we all get tired of repetitive messages. Roughly on a monthly basis, it's a good idea to review any new connections, your connection requests you find up here. But if you're going out networking, make sure that those business cards that you picked up and you haven't done anything with, reach out to them on LinkedIn and connect with them on LinkedIn if you think they'd be a good fit on LinkedIn. People that you've talked to, people that you've been introduced to. One of the things I love to use LinkedIn for is to introduce two people to each other. So I'll send a message, but I'll put two people in the message. And if I do this on LinkedIn, instead of using Gmail, I will see if they have both come out and responded to that. And if somebody hasn't responded to that, I will do what I call a gentle nudge. And I will reach out and I will say, hey, Robert, I saw that Marcia, I sent you an introduction to her and you haven't responded to that yet. You really need to get to know her. So go over and, because sometimes people really need to know other people. The other thing, and they always change things on LinkedIn, and I don't love that, but if you go into your settings, one of the things that you can do, if it's happy today, and if it's going to show us that today, which it may or may not, I've got to double check where that is now. Under data privacy, you can get a copy of your data. If you download your list and something happens and you lose your account, you'll still have a way to find out who was following you. It is possible to lose your LinkedIn account. One of the things that I've seen happening for LinkedIn, your name is your name. So for me, my name is Mary Wu. If I put in Mary Wu, speaker, trainer, consultant, LinkedIn might get mad at me and decide that's not who I am. And they may send me a note telling me to change that, or they may just remove my account. And they may or may not let me get back in. So first of all, following what LinkedIn tells you to do is a really good plan. But having a backup of your data is also a good idea. I've seen it happen to more people than I like to think about. And it bothers me when somebody loses their account, but it really bothers me when they don't realize that they could have had a backup of their data. So it's one of the things I like to suggest that people do, even if not once a month, every few months. Another thing I love to see people do is write recommendations. We're going to do a profile view for me. And if you scroll down past all sorts of things, you will see, hey, volunteering, any SCORE mentors can be putting that right in here. That there's recommendations. You can receive them. You can give them. To give a recommendation to anybody, we're going to go to Catherine because I can show you on her profile how to do that. If you go over to somebody's profile and you click on the more right underneath their box here, you can recommend a person or request a recommendation from somebody. If somebody is saying how wonderful you are, request the recommendation from them right when they're saying it, instead of like waiting for 2 months when they've forgotten how much they love you. Another thing to think about once a month is, what is your future content? So one of the things I mentioned is Giving Tuesday is coming up in November. Start thinking backwards to what you want to tell people in the months and weeks leading up to Giving Tuesday. If you know you're going to have a year-end special or a Christmas special, start thinking about what you want to tell people leading up to that. I'm going to be starting some classes in September, so now I've got to be thinking, what do I want to tell people to encourage them to be in those classes? And roughly on an annual basis, kind of take a quick overview of your profile. You should do this on a regular basis. I know people don't. Make sure it's still accurate and reflects what you're doing. Make sure your profile photo, I want it to look like you enough so that I can walk into a coffee shop and find you. This is what I suggest to people. I've seen a lot of people doing these AI enhancements of their profile photo, and they don't look like people. I saw a guy that looked like Ken from the Barbie movie. I'm not going to find you in a coffee shop if you have too many like you're trying to make yourself look 10 years younger. It's not going to help. I want you to look like you do today. You can get rid of connections if you're noticing somebody and you're just like finding they have a lot of noise and you don't want to see it. You can remove a connection. In your profile, I wish she hasn't done that yet. I got to talk to her about that. Okay. You can have a featured section. One of the things I love to see in here is a video talking about who you are and what you do. You can put graphic art things in there. You can put anything in here. If you're a speaker, you can put your speaker one sheet in here. But a featured section is just a way for people to find out who you are. But I'd like people to review that, because what I've seen somebody do is put in, hey, I've got a class coming up next month. And you find out that next month is 8 months ago. So make sure that everything that's here is up to date. And I'm going to show you guys this. I probably should be embarrassed. There is a way to look at what your groups are, like going over to For Business and clicking on groups. And some of these groups I might not need to be in anymore. So getting rid of some groups just removes some noise from your it just removes noise. You're not getting notifications about things that you don't need to know about. So your homework. And if you do this, let me know. Reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Review, do a quick overview of your profile. Make sure everything is still up to date where it should be. Think about what you might want to put in your featured section and figure out what your schedule is going to be. Are you going to post once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week? Are you going to go through 2 or 3 times a week and leave comments on posts? Are you going to be checking your connections once a week? Think about that and put that plan in your calendar. If you have the Google Doc, you will know how to find me, and you can reach out to me, join my email list. If you know other groups that would love training like this, let me know. And I'm going to see if there are any questions that anybody has.
In the Q&A, Mary, there are 6 questions.
Oh, cool. There, I got it. Boom. Time effective way to do both personal and business. One of the things I like to check with people is if they want a business page, because one of the things I found sometimes it's hard to focus on both things, but one of the great things about a business page, okay, another way you can lose your account, I forgot to mention this. If you have somebody else logging into your account and taking action as you, and LinkedIn finds out about it, you could lose your account. I've noticed this mostly, especially if you have people out of the country doing that. So maybe 5 or 6 or 10 people will hire the same VA in the Philippines, and they'll be working on all of these accounts. And LinkedIn will get this like, why are all of these accounts being accessed from this exact same IP address? And then everybody could lose their account. So be very careful if you've got a VA or an assistant working on your personal account, but they can work on your business account. And anonymous, this also goes with setting the schedule. Maybe your schedule is Mondays and Thursdays, I post on my personal page. Tuesdays and Saturdays, I post on my business page. But think about what works best for you. Oh, best social media marketing tool, app, software to make it automated. LinkedIn doesn't like automation. They have a list of partners, and reach out to me. I'll message that to you because I have to double check that that's still where I thought it was. They don't like if you use something that's not one of their partners. Right now, I think they like Hootsuite, Buffer, and Social something. But if they don't like it, make sure that you're not using it. Sheila, how do you engage with a specific demographic if you don't have their contact info? Try to think about who that demographic is and what they might be interested in. So if your demographic is 40-year-old women, they might be thinking about the fact that they need to get eyeglasses because their eyes are starting to go downhill, or how to, I don't know, how to deal with being in the sandwich generation if you're taking care of your parents but also your teenage kids. Oh, Doris, you've been a premium member 6 years. I'm willing to bet that your subscription is less than what they're offering today. You'd have to compare the pricing. If you're not unhappy with it, I wouldn't move. If you are unhappy with it, then you can think about it, but I don't share, how do I put this? I wouldn't risk moving up if you're legacied in at a certain level, because if you legacy up, they might not let you move back. So I know I've got my, hey, it's $95 a year. I'm not going to change that unless I decide I want to change that forever. Lisa, I just put that form back into the chat again. Sheila, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You can see who's your viewed your profile, but not as many people. Yeah, Elizabeth, a lot of people don't use LinkedIn. And a lot of people with high profiles don't use LinkedIn. I don't know why, but the people that are there are active and worth knowing. Okay, and Sheila, to make sure that whatever you're using to automate posts is something that is in LinkedIn's approved vendors. I've seen them take people down with no warning. So make sure whatever you're doing, you're playing nice with how LinkedIn wants you to play. I have gone away from using any kind of automated posts and used LinkedIn's own scheduler since they've come up with a scheduler, because at least then I know that they're not going to get mad at me for coming in another way. Any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A?
No, not right now.
Okay. Any, pop some in if you have any. And Bob, does this recording go somewhere?
It's saved on the SCORE website.
Okay. So if you need to review this, you can come back and look at it, or if you know somebody that missed it, you can invite them to go look at it.
Rosa just posted a question.
Somebody, pardon?
Rosa just posted a question.
Yeah, and Gloria also posted something. Yes, you can grow with a free account on LinkedIn, Rosa. I know a lot of people that have free accounts and a lot of followers and a lot of connections. You don't need, I kind of think it's better with a free account because you're actually connecting with real people instead of doing automated stuff. And we crave connections with other humans. We all do, even us introverts that like to hide at home in our Zoom box. It takes consistency and it takes being there all the time. Gloria, go over creating a business page. That's very business specific. So I can kind of show you where to create that.
Thank you.
But There we go. So you go over to under me and, oh, come on. I've got so many company pages. It's over here under for business. You can hit create a company page, but then it starts walking you through a lot of things. For the most part, you probably want a company page. A showcase page is like a sub page, which gives you something else to walk through. And there's also educational institutes, but then, there's a lot of other things that you have to do. One thing I'm going to show you that was kind of cool that one guy did. So he's a user and he created a company page that I thought was really interesting because it's just Hey Jay with his photo on it. So that drives you to his company. And I just thought that was a real interesting way to do it. But if you're going to be creating a company page, either make sure it's a very good, solid, static page for people to find, or that you have a plan for how you're going to be engaging with it like all of the time.
Nigel posted a question.
Okay.
Q&A.
Software. LinkedIn doesn't like things coming in from the outside. It really doesn't. One of the things that happens with a lot of the softwares like that is they'll scrape information from LinkedIn. LinkedIn doesn't like when people go and scrape information from them. So they're very, how do I put this? Very snotty about it. So I would go to the there is somewhere in the world that LinkedIn list what they allow. However, the other thing is sometimes LinkedIn will decide that they allow a certain marketing software, and then they'll decide they no longer allow that. And it's hard to keep up with that. And of course, if you're using a particular kind of software and LinkedIn decides they're not going to allow it, if you're paying for that software, they're not necessarily going to announce to you that LinkedIn doesn't want to use it. So I'd walk very softly with that. But with a business page, you could use anybody, even somebody out of house. Yeah, Gloria, you have to connect the company page and the personal page. I like that question that Gloria just asked. How do you decide where to post comments from, etc.? You can comment as a company page, but for the most part, LinkedIn is a person-to-person platform. So most of your comments, most of your engagement should come from you, depending on what your business is. So not knowing exactly everything you do, that's kind of like at this level, as opposed to a, drill down level of which way you should post comments. The nice thing about company pages, though, is you can invite other people. People can invite people to like them. But you have to also determine how much time you have. You're not going to do 20 minutes a day if you've got both a company page and a personal page. That won't fit in. Anything else? Raised hands. Are they?
Oh, those were just when you said you wanted to show some stuff.
Just checking. Okay, if you don't have any other questions, we can probably start to wrap up. I am not hard to find on LinkedIn. If I am, I'm doing something terribly wrong. but also in that Google Doc I sent, it's got my email, it's got my phone number, it's got ways to find me. SCORE, you've all found SCORE to register for this, and they have lots of great programs and great volunteers that they're bringing in to help with so many things. So it's always a good place to reach out first. Right, Robert?
Cool, absolutely. Cool.
Anything,
Thank you so much.
anything exciting coming up at SCORE in the near future, Robert?
There's a huge contest and pitch for women entrepreneurs that's happening. I think July 25th is the final, and it's being held at Lipscomb. And usually there are 50, 60 people pitching for a prize of several $1,000s. So that's the third year we've done this, and it's pretty cool.
So if anybody in here is in the pitch competition, good luck.
Oh, thank you so much. We're excited.
Go win.
Yeah.
And yeah, but when pitch competition is, can we bring do we have to bring tablecloths? Do we know?
Say again, please.
If we're in the pitch competition, we have a table. Can we bring do we need to bring a tablecloth, and it's okay to bring any merch or things like that, right?
Merchandise. I don't table slot. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
In the pitch competition, we have a table. Those of us who participated at the event on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I was just checking if we need to bring a tablecloth and merchandise items for that table will be at.
I think that would be acceptable. I'm not sure why it would not be.
Oh, okay, and we do bring tablecloth.
Bring a fold-up table. Is that what you're saying? I can't quite follow you on that. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, just checking if we need to bring a table and a tablecloth, or if that will be there already.
I don't think you could physically bring a separate table in if that's what you're asking.
Robert, is there a specific spot person for the pitch competition that you should be reaching out to?
Probably to Lisa Odell will be the chapter president.
Oh, okay, I'll check with her.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't help you more.
Well, that's the great
Oh,
thing
no problem.
is you have so many people are able to do so many things, but not everybody knows what everybody else is doing.
Sure.
Oh, no problem. I totally understand.
So I think I'm dating myself. I think I first got a LinkedIn account in 1998 or 9 or something.
It would have been 2006 at the earliest. Oh, I'll show you something. This will be fun. Roberts. Let's see. Okay, are we seeing my LinkedIn?
Mm-hmm. Probably put an M in the middle. It'll dial it down a little bit more.
No, that's Detroit.
And maybe put in Nashville after that.
Okay, I'm not finding you.
Or maybe can you put in Franklin?
Uh,
I don't know how specific it is. There you go. About the 5th one down.
This one?
One more.
That one.
That one. That's me.
Okay, I think I might be able to do this from here. About this profile. December 2003. Gosh, Must be one of the first people.
And I could have sworn I thought it was 98, but so I've been a free one forever. I think I had Sales Navigator when I was doing some consulting, but after the consulting was over, I dropped it because I didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, Sales Navigator does get you some perks, but if you're not using it, it's not worth paying for.
No, and they're always asking me to go to premium and, give me a month's free for that. I'm retired. I don't do that anymore. I don't need to.
Okay, for anybody that's still in the room, I've had this happen before. If they decide they offer premium for free for a month, what I've seen a lot of people do is they get it. And then after about 29 days, they're calling me going, what should I do with this? And I'm like, what you should do with this is call me about 3 weeks ago. Before you even sign up for that free account, figure out what your exact plan is to see if you can get the value out of it. Because if you let it sit there and you don't do anything with it, you're not going to learn what you can get from it. And or maybe you've learned that you're not going to be involved with it anyway, so it's just as well worth it to get rid of it. I don't know. But don't just try the free account for 30 days and ignore it.
Agree.
Yeah, free is just taking up your time. It's definitely not worth it.
There's another question in the Q&A.
Okay, anonymous, I have not seen a LinkedIn Clout score. That could have, depending on how long ago that was, they may or may not still be there, or it may be something that's tied to Sales Navigator or Premium or something else. But I don't ever remember hearing about a LinkedIn Clout score. And it could be a wording that somebody else used. Like somebody might have said LinkedIn Clout score. And LinkedIn has been owned by, it was owned by LinkedIn, and then it was owned by Microsoft. If I type in Clout score in the help, it just talks about the games. They now have games on LinkedIn. So do you remember who did that?
I don't.
Yeah. So you might have to go back to that trainer and ask about that, or see if you still have that recording somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, it's 1 o'clock now.
Well, thank you all. Reach out to me and connect on LinkedIn. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you will get tips.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. This has been excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's
guys.
been super
Bye-bye.
helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you.